sound equipment's there. All of my printing supplies are still
Oh
there.
shit. Oh shit.
Um, but we're live now, and I guess like we could talk about that if you like. I don't know. Probably not. It's not like related, but Corey, thank you for spending some time to talk about a few things. We haven't seen each other in a long
In like
time.
2 years. I don't know if we still like live like right down the street from each other. We're busy people. We're
We're
very busy
busy. We're
people. So
really busy. I'm moving to Port Richmond.
oh, for real?
Yeah, in
Oh yeah.
July.
Oh, congratulations. That's a cool area.
Yeah,
Don't
like
give me yeah. Give me an excuse to go down there sometime.
totally. Yeah, that's like, and it's a house, so I'll have like stuff set up and everything,
Oh yeah.
recording
Oh yeah.
wise. Um, but I would like you like to introduce yourself. What are your main projects? What genre that you kind of like mostly cultivate in? Um, yeah, your first few questions.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Corey. I perform as Hitachii, and that's sort of a moniker that kind of overarches like all the things that I do. Originally, the name came from sort of a producing hip hop sort of perspective. I was producing and rapping with our friend with our friend Keith, who's actually the person who we met through, and also our first show was with you. Um, uh, which was a noise show. So it was like a hip hop group playing a noise show. It was awesome. It was awesome just because, yeah, like prior, I've never been a solo like harsh noise or performer of that myself. But I've always sort of been adjacent to that world. So I'm it's funny how those sort of there's a lot of people who will do a million things and never sort of come into the periphery of like a whole other world. And some people, even though they don't really actively like perform the same way that another kind of milieu does, they just sort of end up in that orbit. I think that's always been really cool about the relationship to sound. But now as Hitachii, I'm doing a lot more sort of just sort of music based instrumentals, things that are sort of a lot of like synthesis mixed with sampling, mixed with noise, and just sort of kind of kind of getting at that point where you start with like sort of a constricted palette to work with. So it's like, say you give yourself certain limitations, say like starting you only have one instrument or something. And then when you feel comfortable enough with any one thing, kind of broadening that, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. So in terms of the sound, I couldn't tell you, but it's a lot of experimentation. Yeah, but very kind of synthesizer heavy stuff as I'm kind of delving deeper into modular synthesis, granular synthesis. Wavetable synthesis, things like that. So that's sort of where the interest is at the moment. So
Cool.
yeah.
Like, well, recently in the last couple of years, or like for a while, probably there's been like a mix of like hip hop and noise and like just like synth music in general, and I feel like it's like all fusing together, probably because of like the times that like we're in, and yeah, like this like taking that idea and like having like a noise show with like hip hop acts, like it doesn't like it's starting to not feel so like far fetched.
No, not at all. The best part, always worth mentioning, is that Danae, who is in the Ice Cold Collective, the hip hop group, her grandmother came out to one of the she came out to a couple of the shows, and she was hanging out more tough than like half the people there. She's just like, I just remember like hey, how do you like it? She's like, I dig this. I was like, yeah, dude. So I think when you're kind of older, like you might even be more like, it's just like the harsh noise, I imagine, fits in so well with the mind of somebody that is like a lot older as well for different reasons. And when you're younger and you get into it, when you hear it when you're older, I imagine that like sort of you just get this like essence of just like, oh god, yes, like almost like clarity of thought or something for a moment or something like that. So but maybe we'll see Danae's grandma performing
Yeah.
like, something like that. Yeah.
Well, like doesn't she have a background in like in jazz?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think she if I remember correctly, she grew up in Philly and was sort of the wild child of the family. So she was, not dissimilar to anything that she was growing up in and everything. Like I love thinking about that. Like there's, like people are always critical of the person that's like, oh yeah, like they listen to new music and then they're like, oh yeah, this is just the exact same as like this or that or this. And then what they'll do is they'll say like, this sounds exactly like just grabbing a name out of a hat, like Buddy Guy from like 1950s. And then you have the one Buddy Guy song that you have in your head, and then you like listen to his old, like an old track that they're talking about. And it's like, holy shit, like Buddy Guy invented drone music or something, like something like that. Like yeah, so that's always really cool. I love that.
It's kind of like the Lou Reed's album when he made
heavy metal machine music. Yeah. Today's grandma's like, oh yeah, I was at the opening gig for that show. I was at the release party or something. No, I know. You never know. That happens too. Like you hear about that. So yeah, one of my shouts out to Mark Olson, my father. He's like a thrasher. He's not anymore, but he was like a hesher when I was born and everything. But he was talking about our local in California, the area that I'm from. Our local theater is like the Phoenix Theater, and Metallica did their Black Album tour. They started their Black Album tour at the Phoenix there, and he was saying that that it was so packed full of people that were of like people from like Death Angel and like Morbid Angel and stuff like that at like our like small town local theater that he wasn't able to get in. And I think if I remember correctly, the reason that I'm saying all this is tying in like, you just never know who's going to be at like the crucial events in history, even when it seems like it's totally like accidentally happening or totally sort of outside of that, inside your like local area, but outside of your purview. So yeah, who knows what events we'll be at that'll change the world.
Yeah, or like where like someone's gonna go like from 5 years from now.
Yeah,
just seeing like your first show was like something that like I booked, and then like I saw like after not seeing you for a while, I seen like you played shows with Dave Bupp, The Taste of Vomit.
Oh yeah, Dave.
Yeah,
my guy, dude.
Which is like great. It's like I feel happy that like these connections happen and then they kind of like spread.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. Like we met at that one show, and then it's just like sort of one of the critiques of the information age. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be like diluting like people's social structures and everything like that. Like people, one of the critiques is that people don't communicate on as deep of a level because there's like more people in their lives and things like that, which I don't, I believe to be entirely false. Like, it's something that I think about like very often, that you sort of cherish the relationships that were entirely incidental to a moment, but you can. It's weird with like the information age and social media and everything. You can have those relationships. You can even keep those relationships on standby and hit somebody up years later who like otherwise you would have lost communication with entirely. So yeah. I'm bringing every time we have every question, it's like centered, and then I take it.
No, that's great. I like that. That's like because it like for me I think of questions while you talk also. So like, that's good. Like thinking about like social media and like how people are connected. Like we haven't seen each other in like a year or so, and then like we're still connected in a way, and it's like we're able to like bring it back up
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
in
just
instant.
start where we left off.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
except which is great. That's like the perfect thing about social media compared if it wasn't there. Like
Hmm.
it's like, oh, what happened to Corey? Or it's like, oh, what happened to Keith? There's like, oh, where did Tony go?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, do you ever get that thing where somebody like if you don't like post for a minute or something, like somebody hits you up like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" Like because I mean that's sort of the flip side too, is that people you get this sort of like lens into somebody's reality, and I think this is very close to what music is like too. It's like when you get this sort of lens into somebody's reality, which is really nice. Or I guess I'll start with the negative because it's like, oh, people develop it. I mean, really, who cares what people think? But like, yeah, you get this sort of like opinion that people develop of you, and then you kind of have this like persona based on. It's almost like this groupthink idea of people's opinion of you. This sort of gestalt based off of everybody else's uh, uh, view of you. But the flip side of that is there other people's view of you via social media is sort of done. Is sort of based off of the way that you have tailored your aesthetic, whether you know you're doing that or not. So yeah, that's another crazy thing. So people can get in touch with you after a long time, and then they think you're they might think you're an entirely different person than you are. Like yeah, like all the rock stars or anything else that you know you see an interview with them for the first time. It's like, oh, I never knew they talked so softly or something.
Totally.
Things like that. Yeah, yeah. And then all the people that you know on social media that um, you have never talked to in person. You don't know what their voice sounds like, or you don't know, things like that. But there are people that I have that sort of footing of a relationship with that, I know more than I know people who I've met in person several times. So yeah, it makes me wonder it does make me wonder always too, what modern technology is doing to the psyche. And I don't think it's neither here nor there. I think I'm communicating, as I don't think that my brain has deteriorated any worse than it would if it were, 30 years ago and I was just watching TV all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is so much like information, especially right now with the whole like COVID situation,
Yeah,
and I feel like everything you're saying like can relate to that, especially now of like how
directly to it. Yeah,
people interact with each other. Um, I'm doing these like text interviews also, so I'm gonna like ask you questions off of that, and and how like if
yeah.
how that would relate to you, and I'm like how the first thing I kind of go for is like how did this whole situation did it make you more creative, or
Hmm.
it's just like or it just gives you the time to like actually explore.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's I I have to say this, and I can't. This is sort of like the thing that I can't say this without. I can't say the next part without saying this first. I am amazing. I feel, for the lack of better words, at the moment, I feel sort of blessed in my position to where I am able to do things at home and everything like that. I'm just at home now, and I feel very happy about that because I'm a very solitary person. And to answer your question, yeah, I've just been doing stuff, creative stuff, it's just like, oh, and I'm like being like a very solitary person as well. This is socially, it's not as different as what I was doing before this. So I just have more time to just like let it all sort of out. So yeah, it is like this a unique burst of creativity, and I'm cherishing every second of it because God knows, when the next time I'll be able to spend a bunch of time inside. Not that there's going to be a horrific virus that results in the death of thousands of people. Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of weird. It's bittersweet because I try to at least stay conscious of the things that are going on in the outside world, but at the same time, yeah, I a lot of creativity, a lot of stuff is getting done. So yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
like is it dictating the way that your sound is going, or is it kind of like you know what's happening, but you're blocking that out and like trying to feel the positive, you know?
I haven't really assessed that yet. But you know, I as much as I want to say that like I this like this bar is like 19 measures as it relates to COVID-19, things like that. No, yeah, I guess I haven't. There is one like there. Okay, so I'm kind of like putting together like a compilation of like instrumental tracks right now that I wrote and everything. And yeah, there is one track that's called like Whole World Together, and it is like a way that I'm thinking about, yeah, that like okay, so the name came about after uh basically emerging out into the world after like the first like week or two after I didn't have work in like a physical location anymore. Going out into the world, seeing like the first human being I've seen face to face for like a week or something like that, and then like the moment that you like say something, the moment that you speak to them, two things, like not only do all your like thoughts and words come rushing out, like it's an oasis or something. It's the first person you've seen in such a long time, so it's just like, oh my god, it's like I've never seen you in my life, but like now we're just friends. It's just instant trauma bonding with this person or something like that. Like, but the other thing too is that, yeah, like everybody was in agreement that it's just like this is the mode that I'm operating on, which precludes basically everything that I'm going to say to you. So we're both in this understanding. We're coming from this exact same point, and it has such like a tangible effect on everything that, yeah, there's this great emotional weight that's put onto something that everybody's experiencing, and therefore like the moment you just see another human being, it's understood that that's going to be sort of the thing that leads into our conversation. And I think that in a lot of ways like connects people on a very strange like and kind of a level that you wouldn't expect. But I do appreciate that, and I still get that. You still go outside and you see people, and it's sort of like misery, but at this, but I think people, another thing too is that we're kind of moving into this phase of like normalization of it, which obviously some people, a lot of people really don't like, and that doesn't have to be like a political partisan thing, but it's but no matter what, the quarantine, the lockdown, the virus and everything, like it's become very normalized. So I feel like a lot of that sort of connection, a lot of that sort of preclusion to conversation and things like that is went away. It is what it is,
Yeah.
But I don't know, who knows? I mean, maybe it will have a second wind or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When everything opens back up, when the
it's scary. Well, like with the whole like the Ice Cold Collective, like how is that going with this time? Because it's like I think you're one of the only people that I talked to out of this whole thing that's like part, maybe like the second person that's part of a bigger like group instead of like a one person project.
Oh yeah.
How is
people
that
that are trying
like,
to
translated, or if at all?
Yeah. Well, actually, so that's kind of a cool story. The Ice Cold Collective, it went through a lot of transformations. So it's basically right now it's Keith and I as a production team, and then Danae is basically doing the vocals. We're sending tracks back and forth over the internet and everything. Keith and Danae are actually finally getting around to finishing the record that they were doing between them, Metropolis, which is great because we're just emailing stuff back and forth, which is cool. And so that's getting done. Metropolis, there's a couple beats on there that I worked on too. So it's mainly their project, but it's a nice cool collective collaboration. collaboration and everything. So yeah, many beats being sent back and forth and everything. So yeah, it's actually sort of revived something that we were just kind of sitting on for a minute. So that's what makes it really cool. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear like whenever like a single drops or like whenever that happens.
Oh yeah.
I'm usually really excited when that happens. With the Ice Cold Collective, like every time when something drops, it's like you guys put like so much like craft and like so much time into it, and like you really like kind of like push like the single and everything, which like I don't really see that often, like that like loved with it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, thank you, by the way. Yeah, and what's great with the Ice Cold Collective too is that when we started, you know, Keith and I both had experience making beats and everything like that, but you know, it seems like every time that we're ready to put out a new thing, we have sort of like doubled our experience, you know, making music, whether it be musicianship or comfortability with the software we're working with, or whatever instrument we're working with, or what, you know, we're recording with, and Danae, like as a lyricist and a vocalist and everything, has always been amazing. And I think where the progression is there is like how Danae, you know, how much all the musicians are sort of like acquiescing into one thing as a band is wont to do, instead of being separate units that are, you know, all doing things. So yeah. The one thing that I'm waiting for is for MIDI technology to enhance, so that you could like jam with people over a MIDI signal over the internet or something, because that would be just insane, you know. Because there's programs now. Yeah. There's programs now that allow you to jam. There's something called like Sound Ninja or something like that. There's a couple of them where you could like jam with somebody over the internet with like, it's not that it's zero latency. It's not like the moment that I clap, you're gonna hear it on your end at the same time. But what it does is, I think it takes everybody's jamming, and then I've never used it, so I can't describe it accurately. But I think the jam session is going on 1 second like ahead or behind what you're doing, so everybody's jamming at the same time with respects to the latency that's going on, which is great if you're playing an instrument that, you know, you're sort of manually playing and stuff like that. But you know, the MIDI signal that's attached to the BPM and stuff like that, you know, it's with the current technology, it's very hard to be able to be on the same tempo as somebody else who's like elsewhere. But once that happens, you know, the potential for production, the potential for like electronic everything will just be endless. It's like, imagine at that point you will literally like be able to like plug into the world, you know, like some sort of planetary jam that's going on. You know, the MIDI pulse is the heartbeat of the earth. I don't know, but that's what I'm excited for. So, you know, that's a one thing that the lockdown is missing. But that, I mean, it's great. It's always great to have technology to look forward to too, as well. You know, even as a musician. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like so interestingly kind of like the technology's not there yet, but like everyone's doing live streaming right now. There's like a lot of noise musicians that I've seen do like live Facebook events and plugging in live streaming on there, and then also like the hardcore band Code Orange, they couldn't play their record release show, so they put that on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
which is
sick.
Weird, but also like a great way to like do something with a horrible situation.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, also too, it's like, what else are you gonna do? Like, not even just in respects of the band, just like in life. You know, it's like, oh, we're gonna wait musically for this whole thing to end. No, it's like, yeah, we're all still in a band. We're entertaining each other, and it's like your audience is there. They don't have to go far to see it and stuff. So I mean, in a lot of ways, it's ideal. If you know, if if that means not being able to get like, hit by the sonic waves the way that you would if you were live or something like that. But yeah, have you seen? I forget. Are you a wrestling guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you've seen like the avant-garde like wrestling? Yeah, that's incredible. I haven't. Okay, disclaimer. I haven't watched any since I've been in court. I usually watch it at Keith's house. So, but yeah, what of it I've seen, I've just been like, yeah, this is a unique situation. Yeah, it's so sick.
The Boneyard match and like the Firefly Funhouse match were like gold. Given like
what did those like what did those consist of?
Well, like the Boneyard match was like AJ Styles versus the Undertaker, and they're like literally in a graveyard fighting on top of like on top of a barn. Like AJ Styles like jumps out of a coffin and like makes fun of the Undertaker.
What?
Yeah, it's like he comes in on a motorcycle like to like a really shitty Metallica song.
Oh, that's so sick.
And it's just like the most.
That's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
honestly, now. Yeah. Okay, that changed my whole feeling about a lot of things, because you now have bonus levels. They're wrestling in bonus levels. So yeah. Yeah. So
in a weird way, maybe this I like even that, like with the WWE, they're kind of shitty right now. They got rid of like a lot of their wrestlers with this whole like COVID.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, so I got rid of my subscription, which like kind of sad about, but also it's like I don't want to give my money to like a thing like that.
Yeah. Plus, Vince McMahon, he's probably going to be making enough money as the what is it? Isn't he supposed to be the official like COVID-19 like advisor or something like that? What an age we're living in, dude. You know what? That's some good advice though. Get somebody to put a stunner on the future president, and then you might be on the cabinet someday. That's good. It's good advice from Vince McMahon. So somebody who I feel like would appreciate noise a lot too. Vince McMahon. It's one dude that needs to drown out some sound in his brain is Vince McMahon. So yeah.
I'm waiting for the day that a wrestler comes out to like some like harsh noise like entrance. Because that translates so well. Like seeing a noise show, it's like almost seeing like a Gigi Allen performance.
Yeah. Just because it's so. I don't. In terms of any other form of music, I feel like anybody that performs very often has. There's a degree of sort of like muscle memory and things that go into doing like a performance. Say you're in like a punk band or a metal band or anything else like that, and it's like when you go to play a show, you get locked into a group, but you also, if you've played the same song or something like that like 1,000 times, you might be just as into it as you were the last 1,000 times you played it, but sort of the muscle memory of playing it has become like performative in and of itself. The difference with noise music or noise, harsh noise and everything like that is that there's nothing, it's so ethereal. There's nothing to sort of grab onto. So if you have like performative catharsis, which is the way where you have this sort of like muscle memory, like motoric, like understanding of the song, you're still into it. Versus just like pure unbridled catharsis when you're playing noise. Like that's something particular to noise performances that I don't think could be emulated by any other musical style. Is because there's every time is a new experience. So your performance is pure catharsis and not sort of like motoric sort of flow. And I think that is awesome, because it's like, and another thing about noise too that I have to say is it's sort of related to as somebody who has anybody that's done like stage performance hits a point where they hit like a threshold, this sort of like fuck it threshold, and you begin, you see people that are never able to get past that threshold where they don't allow themselves to become like comfortable with expressing themselves, you know. And I think noise is that's sort of the precursor, that's sort of the understanding you have going into it, is the threshold is the moment that you make a noise in your soundboard, because from there it's on. So you cross the threshold the moment you walked on stage, so you're free to do whatever you want. Everybody that's watching you is understanding what's going on, versus not any one particular style of music, but like versus like, you know, say you have a scene where people are being very like judgmental, not judgmental, but they're examining the way that you're doing things. You know, I think that the noise scene is just like everybody else is there, just being like, yeah, man, he's crossing the threshold. You know, he's beyond. Yeah. So yeah. So when the noise artist, when the wrestler comes out to noise music, it will be amazing to see them just come out just like, you know, just in full form of what they are, you know. So
well, it goes
probably like, yeah, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say probably just like the most like level-headed of all wrestlers as well. You know, just internal, you know, just a bell, you know, just a Buddhist bell just within his head, you know, their head, you know, whoever it turns out to be. So,
yeah. Well, like it's like a wrestling, like it's like we know it's like fake, but also there's like a strong sense of like improv.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
And like noise is so much of like an improv also. So if that like molds together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Also, too, it's you. One thing that I have to say is that, like, more so than any other genre, you know, with noise, you could have your first act come out, and the dude's just got like a floor tom and like a delay pedal or something, you know, and then the next person comes out, and then, you know, they'll have like a full like modular rig, you know, with, you know, just all things, and then the last act could just have, sometimes you know, you have like the laptop guy or something like that. And really the variation of gear that comes in a noise show is awesome too, just as like a mechanical, like a person that like knobs and twisting things and everything like that. So, you know, yeah, I like that. I love that variation. So.
Yeah, and then like it can translate to any like venue also. Like I played in like really weird places, and there's of course like Phillies and Tories for like the house venues that are around.
Yeah, shout out Century.
Yeah, Century. Like that's did so much, is doing great things for the hip hop, metal, especially noise that allows that sonic airways to like go through the building and into the neighborhood.
yeah, absolutely. I wonder, you know, it's I like that, you know, and they the Century is the sort of one place where I think an environment like the sort of amalgam that we're talking about is allowed to thrive, because you go in there and then they're just sort of like, even if you're, you know, you could tell them you're playing a show there that night and they probably wouldn't have a show booked. They're like, sure. So they, you know, it's just they're so sort of open about everything, but in an aloof way, which is the charm of it, which is why I love it. So yeah, shout out Century. I'm getting a drink there when, yeah.
I yesterday, like I gotta post this, but like Jay from Century, you can donate to him right now for Century to like have it stay open, since like Century doesn't take a cut from the door money, and nothing. Doesn't take anything. Like there's no deposit. Really, it's just in it for the music.
For the music. nobody does that anymore. And I
No.
mean, like, and it's not even that people don't do that because it's not even that people don't do that because they're like selfish or anything like that. Like, where most places are in an economic position where they can't do that anymore. You know, I don't blame them. So that is a that's a very rare thing. That's a shiny Pokemon.
Yeah.
Century is. So yeah, that's absolutely. So yeah, that, and I just found that out. So doubly so. If you're watching this and you're in the Philly area, donate to that page.
Yeah, definitely.
Or
I'll
if
put
you're
that
not,
down.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
well, compared to like Century, that like other places, it's like there's no pretentiousness with it compared to like an art
yeah,
gallery or like any other like. It would be cool like if like everyone wants to take their art to like the highest level,
yeah,
and like Century is like can cultivate that, but like and it's also there's no pretentiousness to go in there compared if like you
yeah,
to other places. I don't know. I can only say good
yeah,
things.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, there's something to be said. Noise will forever be, at least, you know what? No, I'm gonna say this, and then it's gonna be directly contradicted in the future. And I'm
That's okay.
acknowledging now that me saying this will cause to the contradiction, which puts me in the Schrodinger's thing of like I'm absolved from whether I said this or not. But I feel like noise will always be like the underground art, where we allowed visual artists like Henry Darger, people that we consider like underground or I forget the name they attribute to outsider artists, who create things that might be discovered during someone's lifetime or create things that are discovered elsewhere. But what you have is something that's beautiful that's made outside of sort of the genre that it's most like. Or if you look at Henry Darger's art, yeah, like he wasn't part of. I think, what was it? He was like the like 30s, 40s or something when he was the guy who was like the school janitor who like kind of I think he like lived at the school or something, and then they discovered like a 10,000 page tome of just art that he made during the time. What made him an outsider is that he wasn't like friends with any, or he wasn't like part of the art scene. He wasn't part of like the abstract expressionism or whatever was going on at the time. But like he didn't need that. You don't necessarily need to be connected to a node in order to make something that is just mind blowing. And so I think noise has a lot of similarities in that respect as well.
Totally. Like they go hand to hand, and it's definitely an art form.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which people can debate or like deny in a way. It's like as with my experiences. Like what's the difference between a performance artist and a noise artist? It's like, well, noise art is performance art, but it's also like music. It's like that weird kind of like in between that, like, I don't know, other like pop artists kind of want like a someone like Grimes or like Lady Gaga. Like it's like, oh, they're a pop star, but it's like, no, like they're a performance art, and they kind of have to like combat that in a way. Like noise artists have to also, but like they're equal parts. It's like taking punk and hardcore and metal aesthetics into like a performance art area. It takes punk and metal and everything, and it like slices off like the part that it slices off the distortion itself. It slices off the what is it, the tinnitus, and it takes that and turns that into as much of that as everything else in the other forms are and everything. And there's
one other thing too is that you don't have it if you're listening to Lady Gaga, if you're listening to like anything like that, there's sort of a degree you have a little bit of agency over the amount. If you're the type of person that doesn't enjoy it, you still have a degree of like, you can wiggle room being like, well, I could live with this or something like that. It's funny because like noise is its own filter. When we played that one show, oh crap, what was it, the Greenhouse, when you opened that one show, there was, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, one of the guys that was there, I didn't know him. He was the partner of the person that I invited. And so I didn't know this guy really that well at all or anything, but he had a panic attack and he had to leave the show. And I was like, you know what? That's rad because, it's not an option. He doesn't have this knob that like allows him to, induce something in him that he couldn't handle. Which is great because you're now face to face with something that's more intense than you could handle, and it sort of goes to show too. Maybe that person, I'm speaking for this person now, so, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't know if that person or a lot of people have ever been face to face with art that's so intense you have to leave. Which is great, and I don't think that people that I don't think that people that don't leave, I don't think that they're like inherently given. I don't think that they have something that person didn't. But I mean, maybe one or two more noise shows, and that he'll be the best. He'll get into it and start doing noise himself and everything like that.
Definitely.
But going back to it, going back to it, you just have no option. If you can't handle it, you got it. You can't be there. Like you won't allow yourself to be there. So I do like that. There's something really great about that. You can't say that about anything else, really.
Totally. So, yeah, definitely not. Like it. Yeah. It's almost like the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. So.
Or like drinking like the gallon of milk.
Yeah. You know what? If you're watching this, pay your respects after this by doing the cinnamon challenge. Do it for noise. I feel like that is very similar to the experience too.
Yeah, totally. Like it's like, and also it's like, I know I talked in another interview, that like how, in a way, it, and at least now because of where we're at, it's like kind of sometimes noise can relate to like the meme.
Yeah.
In a way, like kind of like the the blown out audio and like the kind of like fried meme aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like sort of down sampled, like very pixelated things like that. Like I see how you implement that together, and honestly, like I think it's amazing. Like the GIFs with like the like things becoming rapidly downsampled and things like that. That's translates into audio as like twisting a knob that turns up the distortion, things like that. I do think that the audio visual aspect is very similar to memes in a lot of ways, and also too. Oh my god. Oh, we started talking about memes.
Oh, I know.
I mean, yeah. There's something to be said for memes have scenes too, and if you think about it, I think that memes are an analog in a lot of ways to noise as well, because there's two kinds of things. There's one, you could approach a noise show and never having been to one before, and kind of trashing my former example of the guy that showed up to the show that we played. You could click to it instantly, but then but I think sort of the larger thing surrounding memes is that like for like a deep fried meme to be funny, you sort of have to be primed for that, and you know that's why you don't see like somebody's great aunt posting a deep fried meme that's about that's like, oh, have a great I don't even know, like I don't know what my great aunt is posting on Facebook, but it's not a deep fried meme. You have to have like the sort of stacked understanding of aesthetic, or at least this implied understanding of aesthetic, in order to take like a certain the deep fried memes, or the ones that say like how do you bottom text or something, and take that and just see that and right away have it be funny without anything. Yeah. I'm making a podcast right now. Actually, it's going to be about memes, meme history, and internet culture, and the things that surround that. Just because I dedicate a lot of time to memes myself, looking at them, not making them. But yeah, that's going to be called the KITSCH podcast. So yeah, it's sort of a shameless plug while I'm here. I figured, no, but yeah, that's when you said that, I was just like, oh my god, all the research. Yeah. So look out for KITSCH podcast.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to that, and like it relates to our conversation, but and also like it relates to noise, but like I think deep fried memes and everything helped its way with like some of the new rappers that are coming out, that are like very aggressive, blown out audio, like Scarlord. I'm trying to think of Ghostmane. That guy. What's his name? Oh my god, wait. Okay, his name will come to me when we're talking about this. But the aesthetic goes so well, because even more so than like punk or metal and stuff like that. Like it fits in the beats so well to like bit crush them, or to downsample them, or to do something like that. And it's things that it largely has to do with the fact that like it's very hard to downsample or degrade the audio of like punk music, or like music with instrumentation that's being played live, versus something that's sort of either like pre-recorded or something like that. Just because it's really weird, because when you're listening to hip hop, or I will even move this into like noise or something like that, is that like if you see like the indie band that you like or something, who recorded this like lo-fi analog recording or something like that, the recording itself is this entity separate from the live performance. So when they play live, it's probably going to sound a lot like more sort of like clear and vivid than the recording was intended to sound. Which, like, when they recorded this album, they're like, oh yeah, make it sound like it was recorded in like 1978 or something. So, oh yeah, it just sounds like shit or whatever. But with noise, with hip hop and things like that, since you're doing it all pre-recorded, you can have this consistent bit crusher that's going on, this consistent wave things like that. And since it's like playing back the recording anyway, kind of far away from the topic, but noise works really well with that. Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah. So. Have you like watched any live like performances, like live streaming right now? And do you think that this time is like helping those musicians, or like helping like these like smaller scenes? Like I don't know if you like, I haven't personally seen too many like hip hop live streams. I've been seeing a lot of noise, a lot of like more like avant-garde type of things. I noticed like some like drag shows that are being broadcasted live.
Drag shows are really big. So I haven't, but it's interesting to see the way that people have though. In Germany, they did like a drive-through concert. So there's just like you've got it's just like it looks like it's like a drive-through theater, but you know you see all the cars there, and then you just see a couple people on stage, like all like spaced apart from each other and stuff. So yeah, it is interesting to see the way that people are doing these things. Yeah, the drag shows, what they're doing in Portland, how they have the strip club that they've made into a drive-through,
Yeah.
and the, you know, and the performers are all wearing masks and stuff. That's great. Yeah, so I do think that it's not the same, but it's amazing to see the way that people have done.
And
You know, it's yeah.
I mean, it actually, like, it popped in my head. It's like, it's all of this counterculture that's
Yeah.
like kind
Oh
of,
yeah.
it's all that's like thriving. Not saying that like drag shows like it or counter, like, you know, it's in
Yeah.
that perspective. I don't like
Yeah.
offend anyone for saying that, but like
No,
it's
no, no.
like
Yeah, I think there's sort of a point of I think they could if somebody called a drag show like counterculture, I think they'd see that as a good thing because it's like, yeah, you know, yeah. But yeah, absolutely. That's really funny you mentioned that too because I hadn't looked at it that way either. Is that yeah, like these are the people that are making the most art are the people that represent like the countercultures instead of instead of the mainstream, you know, even, I mean, I'm sure it has happened just because I don't pay attention to it that much, but I haven't even seen like Fox presents the COVID-19 performance of like 20 different, you know, artists that you hear every day on the radio
yeah.
or something, you know, so yeah, really it is the time for the counterculture to shine and create like a ton of different media and do things in a way that hasn't been done. Like people weren't prepared for this, and so everybody's improvising right now, which is great, you know.
And like being the forefront of it, like I'm like hopefully this like is like a snowball effect that like will bring all these counter cultures into like more like I wouldn't say mainstream, but like aware that like people are different and that like it's affecting these people more and that these
Yeah,
people have to create because of this situation. So hopefully, like after when everyone's able to go outside, hopefully that doesn't stop
yeah, totally.
this effect. Like
Totally.
people have to work and everything, or maybe like right, people do have to work. We have to make money, but like kind of like everyone working from home. It's like you don't have to be in the office. You don't have to like be in the
Yeah,
retail space. It's like
this is something that's been talked about a lot, but you know, the coolest thing is how the thing we're in right now just tore the veil back to like you see the Wizard of Oz like working behind his grand operation. It's like all the things that are made to sort of maintain and grease the machine of capital is like a lot of the functions, a lot of the gears in the machine are extraneous, and you could just as easily take them out, and the machine will function as this. It will still do the most rudimentary functions that it can without all this sort of extraneous shit on top of it, which I think is great because it might not have stopped the functions of like just rampant arbitrary capital and everything like that, but I do think that it it opened a lot of people's eyes to say like the superfluity of so much of the things that are going on. So I think it does shift a lot of people's attentions to things that are more important than sort of like this bullshit job that I had that was making parts for, you know, I was making like the electronics for exclusively for the yachts of like billionaires or something like that, or like pedophile billionaires, things like that. Like so yeah. So that's one thing that I'm starting. I do think that there is a huge shift of consciousness among people that were disaffected or disenfranchised by economic systems that don't run very well. Let's say. So
yeah,
yeah.
it definitely doesn't like. It's definitely not running well at all.
No.
The sad thing is, with the arts and like music venues that like are like struggling. There's like uh, schools right now, some like art schools right now that are not coming back after this
Yeah,
whole thing. They're
yeah,
shutting down completely, which is like goes to say like they were probably struggling beforehand, and this was kind of like the nail in the coffin.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
totally.
this is it's a it's a bad thing. Uh, it's like we have people doing so much creative stuff
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
pushing forward. But then we have like these art institutes that are like died.
Yeah, places that are responsible for kind of, you know, cultivating artists. It's the same with the art store that Keith and I work at. It's we don't know. We haven't heard from the management as to what's going on and everything. But we're Keith and I, the couple times we've seen each other, in the past couple months or whatever, face to face at least. We've been like, dude, what, have you heard anything? Nope. Okay. And we're the art store that we work at. It's the only art store that isn't like Michael's and stuff outside of Philadelphia for miles and miles. And yeah, so if that closes, I mean, of course that it's a good thing for Michael's and stuff like that. But Michael's isn't they're not a good art store. It's the same with like art colleges that closed, and it's like, well, the whatever Rutgers has an art program or something, don't they? Or something like that. It's just not the same.
Yeah, it's definitely
So
not the
yeah,
same.
yeah. But
It's like we're gonna see like the
we'll see.
bigger. We'll see. We're gonna like
Yeah, we'll see.
the places that do have like the money. Like there's art departments in these colleges that will like probably thrive because there's like money coming from different areas, and it's like, oh, we have to put money towards that. But
Yeah,
then like these art like actual art places are kind of like flatlining. Um,
yeah. If you think about how like the art, if you think about like how art trade and art sales work and everything like that, like it's, I mean, yes, the larger institutions that have like big funding and everything, they are putting out the artists who you're going to be seeing and everything, but sort of the world of like fine art and art sales and sort of the money laundering that goes on within that sphere and everything, it doesn't necessarily mean that the people that are going to the most prestigious art institutions are the people that are the most representative of not even the people that are like the best art, but the people that are representative of I guess certain art movements, and generally speaking, it's kind of the most affluent art always the best artists. So yeah, and I mean that I don't want to dig at people's like economic status and everything like, but like it does tie into what we're talking about.
yeah,
Places with less money that have people that are infinitely creative are being shut down due to like economic circumstances. It sucks, but again, as we were saying, the things that are going on right now that people are doing, like the thing that you're doing, or when artists performing or drag shows, strippers, to drive through and everything like that, maybe the alternatives for people who were affected badly by this will be such a like a new and different offshoot, and people who were affected by this will be forced into this sort of newer sort of things that have been created, that it will create like I mean, rift is a bad way of putting it, but that's the way I'm thinking of it, is that the people over here who are doing like the weird new thing because they can't do the old thing because that doesn't exist anymore, it's going to be this whole other world of creativity that will eventually be appropriated by people with money, and then watered down and turned into something that's very sterile, as things do,
yeah,
and then the world just revolves around, and that's how it all goes, and that's how it's always going to. I mean, yeah, that's what's great. At a certain
yeah.
point, you just watch it. So
Well, I guess like
Yeah.
towards like a I know like I'm seeing people that like put in like flash sales on Instagram of their art, and that's like mostly like I'm seeing like smaller paintings, prints, more like clothing based things, kind of like um, a creative need based
Yeah.
in a way. It's who knows what this would do or affect art or like the long terms if this pandemic has long terms on it. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah.
are we going to see giant paintings, giant sculptures? People are stuck in like boxes
Yeah.
pretty much. Um, and I guess it kind of relates. It's like for me making noise, I have my laptop. Like I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
People have
Absolutely.
to like kind of like
Consolidate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's very true. Um, yeah. 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 That's kind of cool to think about. Tiny pieces all over everybody's house and everything. And plus, like, it's not every day that, uh, not everybody's fortunate to have like a land person who is, understanding to the plight. But like for a lot of people, you just, not me yet, but a lot of people just got, $1,200 just dropped into their lap. And so it's really good to see that people aren't just going straight to Amazon to buy like a fucking Gucci bag, or whatever. They're buying art from their friends, and I very much encourage that, like, I encourage people in this time, and this is, I guess, in a way, this sort of like translates a lot to noise as well, is that like in this time, what is it that you have? What is it that you have in your house that you're buying more of? That somebody is, somebody working at Amazon is risking getting sick and risking, all that and being underpaid because they're working for fucking Amazon, which is a whole other conversation in and of itself. And things like what do you have around your house right now that you've had for years that you can implement into your art or your noise set, or what pieces of gear do you have like in a closet somewhere or something like that you could implement? How can you reuse that, or if somebody's in need of it, how can you offer something that you have to somebody who might just be like buying something off the internet or something like that, in a time when also like the supply chains that are required to make these things that people want are stifled because less people are working. So yeah, also the amount of ingenuity that comes out and resourcefulness that comes out of it is awesome too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like how like it's almost like in music terms, like how can you remix your lifestyle or remix what's around you to be like creative, which is like noise artists do that, hip hop artists do that, and it's like kind of it goes back to like collage and like Dadaism and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, totally.
William Burroughs, like it's like very avant garde, very in your face, and this like break into this is I think this is a time that's like I don't know, maybe we're being I'm being too artsy fartsy about it, but it's like
Oh, let's go. Yeah.
yeah, it's like this is like a time that like um just like the experimentation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take what you have. Use what you have. Everything that you use that is outside that you like order to the house or something like that, is inevitably causing only negative compact. Is causing mostly like negative things to happen. I think. So yeah, that use what you have. You know. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, it's so weird to um it's so weird to think about, and like I'm curious of like people that are like better off than us. Like I like someone with a yacht isn't going to
yeah.
remix their lifestyle or even know
No.
how to. I'd like
No.
maybe it's like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like where I'm like coming from and like the social class and like how I grew up. It's kind of like you kind of
Yeah.
have to do those things to survive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, working class, like stressing out when you don't know your income or something. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Versus, yeah, yeah. This, and again, this is the reason why. Uh, this is the reason why I think pure distilled. I think art is relatable to the socio-economic group that makes it, and that's not exclusive, but I think it translates very well. And yeah, I think that COVID COVID music is going to be really hard for people who uh, had an abundance during this time. I don't know how to word what it is I'm saying, but I think going along with the lines of the conversation, I think it kind of makes sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the conversation, I'm kind of like blown away for the conversation that we're having right now. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying it.
yeah.
I guess like at this point, like I'm going on my phone to check questions I asked before.
Oh, sure, sure. And if it's
Um,
going over time or anything too, I understand because
oh no, it's fine. Like I guess maybe like we got like 10 minutes
okay,
left. Let's
cool.
just say because um 'cause I don't want to keep you waiting and
I'm chilling. This is the longest conversation I've had while seeing a friend's face. Uh, in that long. Uh, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
like do you think that I know I've said this like to other like I think every interview I said this so far. Um, this kind of this like format of like kind of like the live Facebook page, live streaming, kind of you can have like lineups that you wouldn't be able to have before. Beside, like you can have someone from California play with someone from Philly, played with
Oh,
like someone
that's
from DC. Do you
yeah.
think this whole like COVID thing is going to like um, do you think you're going to see like some remnants of like a live stream shows in like do you think it's just going to stop
Oh,
completely?
like afterwards,
Yeah.
like yeah. That's a really good question. It's a really good question just because I think the amount it's to use the adage, it's the adage. It's supply and demand, and I think before lockdown and everything like that, there wasn't really a demand for live streaming uh, people from different places and watching their performances like that as much as there is now, because I think that everybody would be down to say like, oh yeah, like, oh hell yeah, like I'm down to watch like these three artists from totally different places, like I'm super down to watch them perform, everything like that. But I think it would happen a lot less than the situation we're in now. Now that we're in this situation, it's the only way that you're going to be able to see it. And I think what will happen is that I think normalization makes it sound like icky or something like that. But I do mean it literally, like watching these sort of performances is becoming normalized, which is allowing people to become used to that format. So to answer your question, yeah, I do think that if it's not like as prevalent as it is now, just because the artists are going to be like actually playing live again, which I'm sure they're very happy about. Yeah, I do think that won't be weird or unusual to see it, and it won't be weird or unusual for say like a YouTube show to like hold sessions or even entire shows based around you know people performing from their houses or things like that. Also, too, I don't know if you've seen this, but Travis Scott performed inside of Fortnite the other night. I don't know if you saw that. So my friend told me about it 5 minutes before the concert happened or whatever. So people on Twitch were live streaming their characters playing during the concert and everything. So I went and I watched it, and it's much different than the next example I'm going to give, but it was insane, just because this wouldn't have happened otherwise. Or maybe it would have, but like yeah, it was insane because like what you do, what it is you're playing Fortnite, and then like you go to like the I guess the middle of the map or whatever, where like there's like this sort of like stage setup, and it looks exactly like when you're just about to go to like a festival. There's just a stage setup. You're waiting for the band to walk out, and then like the music starts, and Travis Scott like he like walks out on this little stage, and then I guess like the moment the beat dropped or whatever, he became the he became enormous so that anywhere on the map you were like he was like Godzilla, so like you're the size of your character, and then Travis Scott is just like, you know, and he was like kind of like phase shifting into different parts. It was really cool. I think like that's a cool thing. But another thing, the other example is in Minecraft, and this was before the lockdown even began. I've actually seen people have been holding festivals inside of Minecraft of bands, which is, I mean, it's weird because they're just playing their songs. They're not performing their songs. They're just pressing play on the music. But there's festivals that go on inside these online games, which allow people to sort of exist within these spaces. That sort of, yeah, that sort of allows for this sort of like whatever the opposite of meta is, you know, this compounding these places within each other, which I think is really cool. So yeah, to see more of that would be awesome, especially to see, like this concert that goes on in Minecraft, but having the people actually perform their own music would be awesome as well. So, yeah.
And I think Animal Crossing, I think people are playing shows in Animal Crossing right now, which is like...
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't have a Switch. I used to have a Switch. I don't have one right now. So that's a whole world that I'm just like looking at through the window, you know? Oh, that's cool. Are people, when people do that, is it kind of like what I described with Minecraft? It's like you're walking around, the music's sort of like ever present.
I'm not too sure. Like I've seen some noise artists that like play Animal Crossing, and they like have like a little like noise table, and they're like oh fuck it, I'm doing a noise set like in Animal Crossing, like come to my island, which is like so dope. It's
that's so sick.
But it goes into like kind of like how we like what you were saying before, like with social media, like what you put out there, like we're making these avatars and like are being more creative, and like I don't know what's more. I would watch that in an art gallery, a fucking like a projection of Animal Crossing of a noise set.
Yeah.
That's more, for me, that's more art than like sculpture or painting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the amount of the story that extends backwards from like the existence of this thing is like, it goes back to memes and everything. If a thought experiment that I really like to do, or rather, yeah, my dad asked me this a long time ago, and it's just never been able to get out of my brain ever since. He asked me like, what would happen if a guy from the 1700s, like we were driving or something like that, and he just like popped into the back seat of the car. It's like, first of all, like imagining things from his perspective, like just everything going on at once, his head would just explode. But like, you know, once you got around to getting to this place where you're standing at an art gallery with this dude from the 1700s looking at Animal Crossing on the screen and everything, like the amount of explaining that you have to do to even get to the point where you're explaining to him what the screen itself is, you know, and thinking about how like art within the context of itself. When you look at it that way, like concerts with Animal Crossing is like the height of art. I mean, just to get there, just to understand what it is a thing, you know. And you can say that's exclusionary too, but I don't think a lot of people are too gatekeepy about explaining what an Animal Crossing concert is. So it's accessible to everybody. So yeah, that's great. I'm really happy you asked that question.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that too, and it went in a great direction. yeah. God damn it! When this check comes in, man, it's like,
Should I? But the question that's been on everybody's mind is it Switch time? Okay. So
Yeah, with well, I'm like since I'm moving and everything, like I don't know, like I guess it's me like exploring. I definitely want a different sound equipment.
Yeah, man. Especially because you'll be in your own house, so you can get like the louder stuff. So
Well, like Behringer came out with a clone of like the is it a, it's the a clone of the Roland 303 that they use in Acid House.
oh yeah.
I forget what.
I know. Yeah,
They have a yellow one with a happy face on it.
yeah. With the that with like acid base like little.
Yeah,
That's cool. I saw that thing. I saw it with the happy face. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
it's so fucking dope, and it's only like $150.
Hell yeah. Well, that's okay, and that's the thing with Behringer too. So I was reading about that. You know, and people have problems with it because they're like, oh, they're just like, you know, you're literally just like using the components and selling it for cheap parts and everything. It's like, yeah, good, you know, because the guys that are gonna go out and spend like, you know, $2,600 on a TR-303, you know, whatever, yeah, they're gonna do that no matter what, you know. And those are the guys that have a problem with it. You know, making things accessible to people is awesome. You know, no matter what, it's going to be forever and always. This was really great. Is that like about 10 years ago, I bought a synth, and it was a digital synth, you know, and to have the same capabilities in this digital synth in an analog synth would make it, you know, so that you would have to buy an analog synth that was like 8 times the price, you know, just astronomically expensive. And one of my friends, one of my bandmates at the time, he was just like, why didn't you get an analog synth? And I was like, well, because this one does more stuff. And he's like, analog sounds better. And then one of my friends, one of my other bandmates that was there, he was just like, yeah, well, like, you know, digital is cheaper. You know, there's more stuff. Digital is like the new punk. And I was just like, yeah, it's like I was thinking the same thing, you know, something. But he changed a lot of shit up when he said digital is the new punk. Like, so that's kind of a philosophy that I've had, or at least things that cram a lot of components, you know, things that make things more cheaper, more affordable, which you know, translates to digital for a lot of things as well. So,
but it's like the birth of like hip hop and everything. It's like fucking instruments were finally like cheap enough for like the lower class and like people of color, and like were able to like sample things, and sampling is like a class thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of the ingenuity that came out of you know, what people had to do either before these technologies existed or when these technologies existed, when they weren't able to make it themselves. I don't know the chronological timeline of beat stepping or beat matching or whatever, where you take a piece of tape and you put it on the vinyl record so that the beat skips back to where it was, so that you have the beat repeating. But yeah, I mean, like, it just that was the necessity that people had to do. And then they did that, and then it became its own art form, you know. So yeah, it's a beautiful time.
It is. It's
a weird way.
It's horrific, but beautiful.
Just like noise music. So
I don't know. We definitely live in a fucking simulation. Like, I don't like everything's just like.
Yeah. These people out here get mad that I'm watching a concert in Animal Crossing. It's like, you live in a simulation too, buddy. It's turtles all the way down. Yeah. Oh man.
Man. Well, I guess it's like a good part to kind of like end this. Like, thank you so much for like this is I would love to do this again. Actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Tony. Yeah, and then maybe next time I could figure out how I could do this. To make some sounds over Zoom too, something like that. So yeah. Well, thanks for having me on as well. You know, I hope that yeah.
Oh,
You get an A on this project from my perspective.
Oh, I
So
better get an A on this project.
yeah.
Is there anyone that you want to shout out before we
Yeah,
end?
shouts out Ice Cold Collective, everybody that's in Ice Cold Collective. Um, Shouts out to literally everybody that's just making art during this time. In terms of noise artists, noise musicians, shouts out to my guy Matt Walker, who's and the boys in Delta, who are making some awesome drone out on the West Coast. Just mind breaking kind of stuff. To basically everybody that's doing the best with what they have right now. The people that are struggling, you could reach me probably best on Instagram at Hitachii, and that's HITACHII dot two times that. If you, I mean, I'm just gonna put this out there to anybody that happens to watch this. If you need anything, hit me up. Let me know, because if there's something I can provide, whether it be material or ephemeral, I will do it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hopefully, in real life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, good luck with the move too, Tony.
Thank you. I'll see ya.
All right. Yeah. See you soon, man.